In 2004, Breault Research and Optical Perspectives Group collaborated on a project developing a laser rangefinder for a customer. During the course of that project, we purchased 2 point source microscopes from Optical Perspectives. It was a new component that they were developing and selling on the market. During that time, Bob Parks became more familiar with Breault and our expertise here and asked us to help him with some levels of assembly of his point source microscope. Eventually, Bob completely handed off the assembly units to us, and we now assemble the point source microscopes for him.
The PSM stands for point source microscope. It effectively creates a point focus at the objective, which gives you essentially a perfect wavefront coming out of the microscope. And then when it's reflected off a center of curvature of an optic, if the optic is essentially perfect, comes back as a very tight, well-focused spot, which you then see on the video screen. But at the time, it was just a perfect point source microscope, perfect instrument for helping align not only the microscope itself, but the test optics we were going to use to make sure it was put together correctly and performed as expected.
We needed an instrument to be able to find the center of curvatures and the axis of off-axis optical elements in our laser designator. The PSM is a very flexible, small device that allowed us to maneuver and find those axes and then bring them to the datums or the mechanical axes of the box, the housings that these optics would go in. PSM allowed us to assemble the first time the optical train in that laser designator in about 20 minutes. First time assembly, on axis, aligned, and it worked really, really well. So we became very impressed with its capabilities.
Well, what we have here is a coordinate measuring machine. I like to think of an expensive XYZ stage that actually reads out to a micron in each of the axes. And of course, it floats on air bearings and have a very nice motion here, and fine adjust on these knobs here. Mounted to the vertical ram is a PSM, got a right angle attachment on it, so it's looking down at this plate with 3 balls on it. And what we're going to do is use the PSM to find the center of the balls, and you can think of the balls as little convex mirrors, so that the focus of the objective here is at the center of the ball. When we're well centered on the balls, and then when we have in the background here a computer running the video part of the PSM, and on the screen we'll be able to see the spot in the electronic crosshair when I get things lined up. And that's all we're doing here, is just using the PSM as a sort of a null device to tell you when you're centered either on the ball or on an axis of rotation, and then use the readout on the CMM to tell you that you are where you want to be.
In a conversation I had with Bob Parks, he mentioned he's always surprised at the inventiveness that people find different uses for the point source microscope. And even in our conversations, he said, I didn't think the point source microscope could be used that way, but yes, it surely can, and hopefully we'll get good results, and we have got excellent results from that experience. And as part of that, Bob continued to also learn about what we could do in regards to support him with the point source microscope manufacturing. He understood more of our quality system, both from a sense of documentation and revision control, material control. And so he started asking us to do more and more of the work for him. He gave us a list of his work instructions, which we internalized into Breault and incorporated into our documentation. So we continued to look for ways to actually collaborate on that specific project also.
Well, working with Breault, it was a all-around very good experience. A lot of collegiality, sharing of ideas. It was a real spirit of getting the job done.
And we are very impressed with Bob Parks and how he's formed the company and developed really very cool intellectual property and this point source microscope project. And we look for other ways to continue to support Optical Perspectives and Bob Parks on other projects to help him be successful, not only with his customers, but also with the Point Source Microscope project.